So I think there will be more and more audience joining us today. So without further ado, we are going to start today's session. So thank you so much, Professor T, for being here with us today. I'm going to really brief introduction and we're going to start our session today. So this is 10th episode of the AAL MICS. So AAL MICS stands for AI Accelerator Lab and represent the Major Innovative Construction Showcase. This is a great direct showcase that spotlights breakthrough work from founders and engineers. Each session is designed to foster exposure, meaningful sessions that involve sharing. So this is both dry, also universal crowd, as well as like advancement and the APAC innovation ecosystem. We're very lucky here today to have Prof, and his background spans design, psychology, and systems engineering. He received his PhD from Cornell University and is now an assistant professor at the University of Wisconsin Madison. Research focuses on developing design tools that help people create human-centric solutions. These studies let the cognition design explore how people reflect on and guide their own thinking. Create human and AI co-created systems that expand cognition, spark curiosities, long-term skill growth, and help overcome design transformation. This work integrates wise skills that essentially researching and beauty rather than something routine. So thank you so much, Nancy, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Adeline. Yeah, to see you again. Yeah, I forgot to mention, I studied 3 years of my undergrad architecture degree at Hong Kong. Yeah, so
Thanks.
yeah, just want to bring that up. Yeah. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, so for first 10 minutes, I'd love to. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. Your sound was a little bit choppy. I don't know if my sound is okay on your end. I don't know. Maybe it's the internet on my end. But
Ah,
does my sound? Yeah, is my sound okay? My voice
so
okay?
far, yes, I hope so. So, yeah, and the audience, please feel free to let us know how it sounds in the chat as well. So far, I hear you well. Yeah, perhaps the internet just needs to warm up for a bit. So Nancy, it's been a while. I feel like this is a great opportunity to catch up. Do tell me what happened after your 3 years in Hong Kong. Shall we start from there?
Oh yeah, I mean, the 3 years at Hong Kong was wonderful. But the undergrad architectural education, they kind of got me quite confused after finishing the degree. So we're all kind of confused. So I went to kind of China and work with one I think Professor Chang, joined his team and work in rural China for 2 years, just practice and build real buildings to see how a building is designed and constructed. I think that helped me a lot. And there I developed interest in computational design and data-driven design. So 2 years later, I went to Columbia University, GSAP, finished my degree. Yeah, it's also a nice place. It's quite open and it gives a lot of room for people to develop their own interest. So, again, the education I received was more about like speculative design, right? And then I started to realize, okay, evidence or human feedback actually plays an important role in the architectural design. So I find myself more interested in like the principles, the mechanisms behind the design decisions. So I decided to pursue a PhD at Cornell University, and that's like I wouldn't say the only place, but the place you can start to learn research methods more seriously and know how to conduct like environmental psychology kind of study. And I end up like combining my interest with the interest there, like working on I call it like design tools, right? Design tools is like the bridge connecting my interest and psychology. So I kind of minor in psychology and system engineering there, and my dissertation is about like an agent, a cognitive agent that kind of provide human feedback. I present this one as a design tool, and during my PhD, I kind of do some exploratory projects. They are not directly related to my PhD, but it turned out pretty interesting and got published. So that right now I'm an assistant professor, so I can do kind of follow my passion to work on like human AI co-creation. And as you introduced me, the metacognition part. Yeah, so that's like my general journey. I'm gonna show some of the works today. Yeah, but feel free to.
Yeah. We're very excited to see some of your work. And maybe if I just poke a little bit more,
Yeah.
what is one thing? Because we are coming, the audience as well, myself as well, we're coming from, I was supposed maybe we are, some of us designers and some of us are looking at your research from a distance. What is one thing you would like to tell us about the importance of your research if you have to summarize that in one key thing that we should definitely try to understand?
I think that's yeah, actually, that's a very challenging question. But I will try. Mm, oh, Anne, is there? Oh yeah, okay, don't worry. So I think if I have to say one thing, I think it's about feedback. I would say I think my whole research is about understanding how the importance of different types of feedback, especially feedback about human experiences and their behaviors in buildings. Okay, I'm gonna tell a little bit more. So when we design, there's a design process, and usually the end of the design is to receive feedback about your actions. But I do have this feeling that feedback is somehow missing, or less focused in the design process I know, or design practice I know. So I think my research has been trying to find out what are those feedbacks and try to develop a computational tool that provide those feedbacks to the designers in early design stages. Yeah, to be more specific, just imagine when you are designing, maybe before the building is constructed, you already kind of have some feedback about how the building is going to perform at the early stage. I mean, when you come up with the proposal, right? So that's, I would say maybe feedback is the word I am working on. And as I said, like a metacognition and also the human AI co-creation, the topics I'm working on, I think there's also I think a lot of novelty or new directions probably will be centered around feedback as well. How can we give people new, novel feedback,
Great. Thank you for explaining that. That does paint a picture. And are you enthusiastic about just the research or also very much seeing how the research is applied into a actual workflow? And if it's the latter, how is it going right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm doing kind of a translational research, and also I'm also working on part of the fundamental, which is more psychology and related research. But I'm a designer, so I'm a designer. I have to think about how my research can impact industry. And as I described, there are two components of my research. One is about understanding, right? You have to understand the creative process deeper. We understand how environment impact human deeper, but they shouldn't just be papers, right? Like if I present my work, you will notice I spend a lot of effort. That's why I'm minoring in system engineering to translate the knowledge into an interface, accessible interface that designer might be able to use, might be able to benefit from. And actually, by thinking about that question, your research becomes more relevant, right? Because when you think about how your research will impact the real world, the research questions you develop will be more relevant to the designers. So I do think they are kind of reciprocal to think about those two components. One is application, another is about basic knowledge, about fundamental research, about understanding. So I think for me, I think they are not very exclusive to each other. So they are not like binary decisions. I have to just pick one. Yeah.
It sounds, yeah, I see that. So I think this is a great segue to now allow us to see your work. Whatever you would like to share with us, would be.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so I prepare a few slides. For folks who attend the Hong Kong AA kind of lecture series, you might find some overlap. But the presentation I gave is called "Yes, AI Generates, but What's Next?" Right. So I start. I mean, most of the audience, you are probably familiar with the design process. Like designers many times start with empathize, right? To know a little bit about the context, know the users there, know the client, and we go to the definition stage. We define the problem, right? And then we ideate, generate different design options, prototype, and finally we have the test, right? We want to either test it by a low fidelity prototype or after construction. That's the time we know how our design going to perform. So I think my observation is like most of the existing AI tools seem to kind of focus on the ideation and the prototyping stage, right? Like the Gemini, the recent very popular image generation tool, right? It helps us to generate image very fast and have all this style transfer kind of AI. And now we have spatial AI, right? They help us generate different types of design options really fast. But that, I would argue, kind of leaves a gap and actually gives designers, if you're really using AI to design, a lot of burden on the validation and evaluation, right? When I recall like my professor criticized me or reminded me how many decisions are embedded in just one simple rendering, right? When the AI gave you a rendering, there are just millions of decisions out there are automatically generated. And you kind of need to be very mindful and validate all these decisions and be accountable for those decisions. But I do think there's a gap there at the test phase, which is relates back to the feedback word I mentioned. So let me use another kind of animation to illustrate. Oh yeah, so that's why I kind of ask this question. AI indeed kind of accelerates design, no doubt, right? But does it help us design well? So I think that's the question. I don't have an answer yet, but that's a question I kind of constantly criticize myself and think about it. So I will use this animation to illustrate design process again. So imagine this 2D plan, it's the design space. I know many of you are probably already familiar with the idea of design space. It's the space with all the design possibilities. Let's assume this red dot is where the design currently is. And you kind of have an assumption of the desired goal, right? You are not sure if it's a true goal yet, but you kind of know where you want to go, right? And then you have the Gen AI kind of help you put in a bunch of prompts, like saying, okay, let's Gen AI go this direction, right? AI gives you a bunch of options. Some of them might be close to the goal, some of them might not, right? And then actually this step is designers have this intuition, right? Am I there yet? I mean, you probably hear a designer saying that quite often, like this design is not there yet. We are not there yet. They have this interesting intuition to measure, in my perspective, measure the gap between the generative design and the goal in their mind. So I think this to provide feedback on those gaps are quite important to help you kind of calibrate and eventually ended up, get there, right? And what's more interesting is many times the iterative process, it might turn out the real goal is actually not here. It's somewhere there, right? So there's this kind of decision framing process. You might change your concept or totally after exploration for a while, right? So the real goal might not be here at all. So I think those two processes are very interesting and could be augmented potentially by some kind of design tools and hopefully powered by AI. So the reason why I mentioned that, because there's already research. I wouldn't talk more details about that. Showing, using Gen AI like in certain ways might lead to like risks, right? Well, of course, we have risks and benefits. So like you have the risk of design fixation, which means people tend to generate homogeneous design and be fixated on the design option AI provided. I think this is kind of intuitive to understand. If you are a designer, you are sure some certain references. As a human, we naturally tend to generate similar options as that reference. And of course, you have other kind of risks listing here, and people have been mentioning that, like you have over-reliance, have skill atrophy, and assessment validity, right? I think showing this doesn't mean we shouldn't use AI. Instead, I think we should use AI more, like to explore, really, but we should keep those risks in mind. So I think kind of my research interest is I fully recognize the importance of automation. I think definitely improves efficiency, and a lot of efforts are on this part. But right now, I think my research focuses more on like AI powered design tools or just design tools that kind of support our cognition, support creativity and support our decision making. And so I will just briefly talk about the term like metacognition, because I think this will be increasingly important in the AI age when we are collaborating with an agent, all the time. Like I'm using AI all the time right now. And I think it will be very important to be mindful about this word. So metacognition is describe this very interesting human capability about like thinking about thinking. We kind of naturally have these two layers of thinking. One is at the like cognitive surface level, and another layer is at the metacognitive level. Okay, so that's this diagram from Ackerman's paper perfectly describes what metacognition means. So the reasoning is when we are solving a problem, reasoning is the surface layer, right? You see here identify component goals and analytical processing and answer choice. But actually there's another layer of cognitive processes happening, which is about like metacognitive monitoring and control. So we actually can be aware of our thinking process and kind of when we feel stuck, we can actually kind of know how to get out of stuck. I mean, isn't that amazing? Like I would say, if you know how to get off stuck, well, are you really stuck, right? I mean, that's an interesting question, but we do have this metacognitive control ability that, as you can see here, all those questions that allows you to change your cognitive, like the reasoning processes. So metacognitive monitoring, including, for example, the feeling of rightness, are you on the right track, right? When you are developing a design or develop any project, you kind of have this feeling of confidence along the way. And that's actually part of the metacognitive monitoring. And when to stop, right? When we design, we kind of say, okay, this is it, right? The design is there, yeah, it is there already. I don't want to change anything. That's feeling of final judgment. The final confidence. And apparently, you also know like if this problem is solvable or not, right? Is this a design? Is this the right project we're going to work on? So all those feelings and the control process is quite important, especially in right now, like everyone is kind of collaborating with AI. I think AAL mentioned this idea like super individual, right? AI has this potential to strengthen our capability. But I think strong metacognition will make sure I think we are in the pilot seat, right? When we're interacting with AIs, or AI is not taking over, right? I think many times when especially in my own case, when I use AI to generate a rendering, well, you might intuitively feel, oh, this is so good. I'm just going to use it, right? Without more thinking, actually AI takes over already. So AI becomes the designer instead of you. But I think it's worth mentioning, and feel free to check more literature and know more about like this topic. Yeah, so with metacognition, I think again a reminder is like ideal human AI collaboration is like the left image, right? The AI for me, the best metaphor is the tool. Okay, so when you build up a great you are coupling with the AI tool well, which means you guys collaborate well. That's like the left side, right? You definitely a lot of people has been able to use AI to create many beautiful, like realize beautiful ideas, like which they alone couldn't achieve. But many times, it could be on the right side, right? I don't know if it's about prompt engineering, either it's about like need more knowledge about metacognition, but you might hurt yourself without even realizing, right? But you are using AI. That's what I meant. Like sometimes AI take over the pilot seat. Okay, so that's a little bit introduction about the theory. I'm gonna just quickly present you some of my works that I developed during my PhD. That kind of try to work on metacognition and design feedback. So the first project, I call it Multi-Mind. So Multi-Mind, yeah, it's published on this journal, and it's basically kind of try to moderate like designers' feeling of confidence, as I mentioned. Like, am I on the right track? So on the left side, when you're designing alone, right, after you maybe iterate a few rounds, you already lose the fresh eye of your project, and your confidence kind of decays, right? So in this project, actually done in 2022, I believe, it's like I'm kind of exploring, well, what if there are like a few artificial AI agents that kind of when you're designing, they are giving you feedback about your own emotions. They are like saying, okay, you are feeling excited about this project, and you kind of like this project. And this is a kind of interesting experience. And as a researcher, I'm interested to explore how this process is going to change designers' thinking, and does that change their design processes. So what do I mean by that? So I just repeat myself. So that's what I'm interested in. What are the impacts of a real-time emotion prediction agent on the design process and metacognitive awareness? So how to train the real-time emotion prediction agent? So that's we kind of collected tons of panoramic architectural like interior images, and we classify them in the like the different dimensions of the emotions. And what it end up with is like a person will wear a EEG headset that collects their brain activities. Okay, and they are experiencing all those panoramic images in VR, and they gave their ratings, like whether they like or not, excited or not. So we'll be able to kind of build a model to classify their emotional responses to interior environments. Okay, and then we put them into another VR, and they now can design, basically, as you can see here, they are changing the geometry of the room. And when they are designing an interior space, they will be able to see how the model classifies their emotions in real time. Okay, so you see this red dot. So you are actually, when you are designing, you are seeing how a AI agent trained based on your own brain activity data, and the agent is telling you you are feeling excited or you like this design right now. I think this is kind of a weird, I would say quite weird, but kind of interesting experiences. And the research, we kind of investigate how designers react to it, and if this feedback, how they think about this feedback, because this is trained by based on their own data. Does this feedback change their metacognitive awareness in any way? Which it did, which is interesting. And also this feedback encouraged them to explore a little bit more. I mean, I believe many of the audience are already thinking, okay, I don't trust it. I might just go the opposite way, right? I always pick the design that, violates the AI prediction. Actually, that's a very interesting intuition, and many people did do it, and many people follow this as well. Okay, I won't go in detail into the results. So I'll show you another project. That's the cognitive agent I think I mentioned at the beginning about providing human feedback. This is very different from the previous project. So yeah, this project is also published here. So this project is actually about wayfinding. So here I want to say wayfinding is a very interesting behavior, like people did every day, right? We need to find out where we want to go. Actually, there's a whole lot of similarity between finding a physical destination versus finding an idea, finding a more idea in the head. So here is more like the physical realm, right? Okay, people have trouble finding where they want to go. And designers, it's very hard for designers to realize those challenges, right? When they are designing the signs or designing the layout. So the idea is if we can predict, kind of create an agent. Well, not the AI agent, but it's an agent, representation of human, right? That kind of behaves like real human, and also, shares similar cognitive abilities like a human. So we can use this agent to run simulation and predict where people are gonna feel confused. Right, that's a human experience before the building is completed. So designers putting the model, putting the size, and run the simulation. So we will have feedback showing them where people are gonna be confused when they navigate in an unfamiliar building. So here you see the demonstration of how the agent behaves. Right, this is very interesting. Like, because all the agents are trying to find the same target, which locates at the lower right corner. And that's a specific room with a room number. And you see here, the agent is capable of replicating different types of navigation behaviors. Some of them backtrack, some of them shows exhaustive kind of exploratory behaviors. This is just to demonstrate how the variety of the range of individual differences this model is capable of replicate. And with that, designers start to receive all those feedback about uncertainty experiences, right? You can provide those heat maps demonstrating where people are gonna feel uncertain. And designers definitely will help, they will say, okay, I'm gonna change this part, I'm gonna look at this part more. And you can see the top row and bottom row also kind of validate this the agent feedback to compare that with human response. So I think one promise for that is, we are talking about diversity all the time, but what do we mean by that, right? So I think predictive models of human behaviors will help represent, right, the challenges of diverse population early in the design processes. So if we're talking about human-centered design, we have those computational models. Designers can simply, run those models and get metrics, say, for example, younger adults or for older adults with dementia, right? We have aging society. And then designers can get different feedback, the metrics of different population. Okay. So yeah, So I guess that's all my work, and I don't know if I have time, but I guess I'll just quickly go over some of the other work
Sure.
that worth mentioning. Yeah, maybe a
Yes.
few minutes. Yeah, like I think I won't talk about the details. I will just guide you to those articles. I think this is an inspiring article. Why AI isn't going to make art. Talking about how I wouldn't say your logical way. I touch on that's a science fiction author, right? So talk about how why art is art, right? Art is a package of a lot of decisions, and those decisions kind of work together, right? And now we are using prompt, which is maybe a few hundred words to create a nice rendering, right? And this mapping, there's a lot of autofill, right? AI just fill those gaps for us. So in this, feel free to read the argument again, but the idea is like it's impossible to create art using AI because the creator doesn't really put in that efforts of deciding all the decisions that are embedded in art naturally. And the metaphors of artificial intelligence is also interesting. I think it's published on Science. This opinion kind of criticizes the current trend of using personified AI, overly personified AI agent, right? So I think that's an interesting article to look at. And some other works by the recent researchers. I don't know if I have time to mention them, but you can imagine what if AI doesn't provide you any answer, right? They only ask questions instead of giving you answers. So, or you may say by giving you the answers, it provide by giving you the questions, by asking you questions, it gives you answers. The Socrates AI, and this opinion about AI should challenge, not obey, and the different realization tools, right? Now we are having this text-based interface. Well, can we have a more graph-based, like a map, right? And we can map the human opinions and AI opinions on the interface. Yeah. And what if the AI could tells you your design space, right? Instead of giving you specific designs, it tells you the design space of design space, right? That's also an interesting topic. And what if the AI does not help you make decision, but it actually helps you understand how you make decisions, right? So this tool is like by using a bunch of scenarios, it helps you understand your meta decision making process, help you understand, okay, why you make certain decisions, what criteria are important for you. All right, I'll skip those. Yeah, I guess that's all. Sorry for the rush in the end, but that's all I want to present. Feel free to ask any questions in the end if it's confusing at any point. Yeah.
Actually, it's very clear. Thank you so much for sharing the research, and also congratulations on your publishing and all of those works. It really shows that I think you were very clear on what it means, and I also really enjoy the fact that you termed it well. Especially the part where are you there yet? Are we there yet? Is the design is not there yet? That part. I'm very glad you helped in this presentation, helped us to uh, frame it, help us to term it, and I can understand clearly what you meant by that. And so please tell me a bit more about this. Okay, so you have created this research, and that was your PhD. And so concretely, in the next 1 year or 3 years time, what boundary do you want to push next?
Yes. So I think right now is, as I said, I'm kind of focused on the cognitive support tool. Actually, I'm currently developing one. I think is more right now on developing like the new kind of interface or envision new interactions with the AI. So can we interact with AI different? What are the alternatives of interacting with AI, right? If you think about how we interact with AI right now, I wouldn't say that's the optimal or the design. We're not there definitely. So the interface. So right now I have trying to I can say a little bit more. Like, as human being, we think spatially, right? But the current AI doesn't really support that process. So right now I'm kind of developing a tool that couple the spatial thinking, how we thinking in space, how we use our gestures, use different kind of spatial movements, and one of the AI system, by combining them and create a new kind of tool. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now, but focusing on the cognitive support part, to respect our natural thinking process. But the goal, as I said, is how can we? I really like the metaphor, like a mirror, AI as a mirror, right? When we use AI, actually the AI should tell something about ourselves, right? So I think you can say in my work, I like the multi-mind project the metaphor is like a mirror, or you may say the concept is a mirror. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So the end goal is like by using this kind of new AI system, the designers should be motivated to explore a little bit more, be able to know their limitations better, and they will be able to even train or be more aware of their metacognitive processes. So they know, okay, when I should do certain actions. So that's kind of the direction I'm working on exploring right now. Yep.
So the tool that you're building now, could I dare say that it is a tool that would actually allow the designer to become a better designer because they have strengthened capabilities in their metacognition, and they would actually be able to get the is it there yet feeling more like they would be highly sensitive to what is the right direction to the design versus the wrong one. Would you call it? Yeah, like that is close. I see.
Yeah, that's close. That's one of the goal. Actually, I would say I forgot to mention another word is about step back. I probably you've heard this step back. You heard about this feedback as well, right? Actually, when you step back, that's when your metacognition is working, right? There it's saying, oh, well, you shouldn't be too immersed in the work you're doing, right? You need to step back and look at what to do, and you make a new action. And when you step back, actually, interesting things happen, and you kind of make wise decisions, right, about what to do the next step. So the tool I'm developing actually is more on that. Yes. Yeah.
I really enjoy the fact that you have taken these phrases, for example, take a step back in your design, and it's not quite there yet, or it's going the right direction. These phrases, and then to take them into a deep dive into the meaning behind it and the why, and to chase the reasons behind that. Those are the phrases that are quite traumatic to architectural students when they are designing something, and then the tutor says, "You got to take a step back." Oh my God, what does it mean?
I know.
Erase.
That's why yeah, it's traumatic. That's why we still remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just find that to be very, very funny. And I also I want to ask you, you went into this deep dive, having a PhD in this specific topic. Do you think it was, and going back to your own motivations and ambitions and like, do you think it is because you would like to see the entire process on a higher level rather than being on the ground? Because for designers who are actually getting their hands dirty and in the process, they are not capable to actually understand what on earth is going on. They're just in the experience together with the clients or together with the co-designers. But tell us more about the reasons why you wanted to have an high level view of all of this now, actually.
Yeah, I know. I think probably for the practicing designers, they don't even have time to really think about some of the topics I discussed right now, right? They are so tied with all the nuances and specific problem solving processes. I think for me, I think one of the motivation is maybe the innate motivation for working on this topic. That's probably what you're asking, right? Like is probably comes from I couldn't figure it out in my undergrad, right? I think I didn't design that well in my during my time like at Hong Kong. So I had a lot of kind of barriers and confusion. As I said, I just couldn't figure it out, right? So I think that's kind of the motivation, like the frustration at that time kind of motivates me to think, okay, how can a tool, right, as human being, but the good thing about a human being is like you meet some barriers and you kind of naturally want to develop a tool or understand this process deeper, right, to help other designers to learn faster and design better, to make decisions better. And also now I'm teaching. I'm teaching like first year design studios, so I observe like similar patterns, right? And another motivation is on the learning aspect, right? I do believe like design expertise is becoming more and more important. It almost becomes the new fundamental kind of knowledge, just like coding or some coding, right? Like some understanding of the computer. I feel like design with the capability of AI, the ability to create something, to design something is becoming more and more important. But the traditional pedagogy for design is more like apprenticeship, right? So it's very hard to scale. Now I'm kind of because of the lack of professors, I have to teach like 17 students in one studio, right? It's impossible to have like one-on-one like desk create with them, right? So you can imagine if we figured out the cognitive processes, and if we have the tool to support the development of those metacognition, to support metacognition and also support the development of metacognition, we can imagine those tools being used by students first, and the students then one instructor might be able to cover a whole lot more students, right? So I think that's another kind of a dream, long-term dream, like if we can scale design education, right? Or adult, yeah. So those are like two motivations, I would say. Yeah, and I do, and I think another thing is like this is my personal like opinion, but I do hope like when we collaborate with AI, we can create more creative stuff, right? Creative projects instead of just repeating what has been done. Because AI, when you see any rendering AI created, it come from somewhere, right? It's come from a data set that has been trained and some artists unknown contributed to this style, right? Although I do recognize AI can mix things, that probably creates some novelty there by mixing, but the elements themselves are not original. So the question is, what kind of tools help us support, like provide stepstones for us to create those original works, can scaffold our thinking process and create those original works. So that's a question. Yeah.
Valid and very impactful, I can imagine. I'm going to keep asking you some questions because some actually want to know more. So for the audience who are currently live in the chat, live in the Zoom, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and I will read them out after you have submitted them. So please, if I were to put on a different hat and challenge actually the tool that you so mentioned, then perhaps one of the questions to ask would be who would then determine what is good design and what is bad design from the beginning, and how does your tool determine the designer is getting becoming a better designer rather than worse designer. So what would you say to that question?
Yeah. Yeah, you were asking the question about feedback, right? What should be the success metrics, metric of success for the tool itself, right? That's interesting. So I think there are two questions. You said one is about who gets to about what is good design, what is bad design, right? Like that's that's a question I don't decide. So I didn't put a slide here. So there are just the design values are diverse. Definitely, it's an ecological system, and I definitely cherish that. So the reason I try to provide human feedback because I personally value occupants' experiences in buildings. I know there are different types of designs out there. There are speculative design, right? Critical design. The purpose, more paper architecture. The purpose of designing is not to really designing for inhabitants, right? And also there are different values depends on different types of projects. Some projects might value something else, right? But there are a group of projects that indeed value human behaviors and human experiences first, probably like healthcare, right? When in transportation hubs or workplace, schools, educational buildings, those type of functions usually value human behaviors a lot. And that's where I can see the feedback I presented today about human will play an important role there. But for other type of projects, definitely there will be more tools, right? Different tools to provide feedback. And regarding how to measure the success of the tool itself, that's actually a more challenging question. And that's what I'm trying to figure out is in psychology, we have to develop validated metrics, the outcome measures to evaluate. I mean, right now it can be as simple as expert judgment. Actually, that's the most valid metric right now. Or you can ask them to perform certain tasks and ask them to reflect. So, for example, if students or designers' metacognition indeed improve, there will be some like indicators, right? When you ask them to reflect or verbal externalizing it or describe the design process. I mean, as a professional, as an expert designer, you immediately know, right? So those are like some metrics of doing it. But again, I think my approach is not quite hypothesis driven. I'm more like take the method of research to design. So which is more like we envision an alternative, a very interesting interaction with the human, right? That interaction has never existed before. And we tested those interactions on human subjects and explore how they're going to behave. And that gives us insights about science and about applications. So that's a different method. Yeah, but thank you for asking those questions. Yeah, very important.
Thank you for explaining that. I see what you mean. And the second one is definitely more challenging. Is to quantify or qualify the KPIs of the tool. So I'm definitely interested to see how it pans out at some months' time or in a year's time.
Yeah.
All right. So we brought to. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just one follow up. And sometimes this kind of study, maybe it won't succeed, right? If it succeeds, I will patent it, right? That's great. That's a huge breakthrough. And sometimes the purpose of this study is about providing insights, right? Like of course, it grounded on theory and it has the potential to succeed. But as you know, many research projects, they just failed, right? Because the nuanced things, for something to really has an effect on people's metacognition takes a lot of effort. And but the purpose of that is to demonstrate the potential, is provide insights because people are going to have very interesting different behaviors. And by observing those behaviors, you actually know something better, right? So that's more like a prompt, those novel tools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to
I see what you mean.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's valid. Yes. But to respond to what you said, that's definitely valid. You're saying even if the tool doesn't pan out, the fact that you were able to conduct the research and collect the data is impactful, perhaps to the humankind. So absolutely. Okay, so the first question, thank you, Winston. Hello. Here's his question. Hi, a part two graduate here, also interested in computational design, recently exploring a lot of AI workflows. I also did some work on exploring the digital built environments in VR for my master's dissertation. Really impressed by your VR research. I want to ask how you measure emotions during that session. Did you use a specific blueprint in Unreal Engine 5? I'm interested to hear your methods with some more detail.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely for method, you can simply read the paper. But in a nutshell, the paper is very transparent. So the method is not complicated at all. To recognize emotions, we actually train the machinery model ourselves, but it's not the large language model. It's very simple. It's the support vector machine, if you know it. Yeah. I think the technical detail is not hard. I think the hard part probably will be the signal processing, providing the features, yeah, from the brain. But yeah, that part, if you know it, it's not that hard either. But definitely read the paper, and you can send me an email if you don't understand, any parts. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's very technical information and good to know for those who want to dive deep. Another question. Do you think generative AI is more useful for students learning design or for experienced designers who can critique and guide its output?
Yeah, I think, the question, obviously, it depends, right? Or both, right? So I think Gen AI definitely can be useful for both students and expert designers. I think the question might be like, for those two different population, how should we design AI tools differently, right? I think that's probably the question underneath this one. Which is an interesting question. I think we still need to figure out, because supporting students' metacognition and supporting expert designers' metacognition will be very, very different, right? Because they have different, foundations. I think there's this. I think then it comes down to like personalized AI, and there's the simple answer is like, for students, you might need more explicit kind of guidance for students who are learning design, right? For experienced designers, you can assume they already know something, and they already develop critical thinking, right? They can undertake something more radical, right? So that's a quick answer, but this is actually a question without answer. But like, how should we design Gen AI differently for novice and expert? Yeah, but that's a question we can.
Fair enough. Fair enough, indeed. No straight answer for that. Okay, a question from Anne. I believe there are lots of research showing evidence that AI is unavoidably diminishing students' metacognition, and educators don't have confidence at this stage of guideline in adopting AI in teaching. As an educator, what would be your principles on this point?
Yeah, I think, there is indeed a lot of research, but we would question which kind of tasks they ask students to do, right? So if you follow the old paradigm, the teaching paradigm and assignment, and ask people to use AI, for sure you're gonna tell a lot of risks, and shortcomings of AI, right? So that's why I think there's an urgent need to change, to think how we can adapt our pedagogy, right? How we teach, and also how we evaluate students. Most of the assignments actually are not quite working right now, especially the written ones. So the assignments should be updated. And another question is about how to understand the protocol of interacting with AI. So we should kind of draw a boundary. Some tasks we should encourage students to use AI, and some tasks are definitely not shouldn't use AI, like when students are still immature about their like thinking, right? So, but right now, I think I do have some like unvalidated, they're not researched, like no research has shown evidence, but really my practice is no matter what AI gave me, I will try to add one more thing to it, right? Like, so I would say, this is like challenge. So I say, okay, I actually use AI to ask questions about research directions or ask how to solve a problem, help me ideate. But one like reminder for me is like, okay, definitely need to add one more idea. That is different from what AI gave me. So when I tell my students, I also tell them like, if they use AI, they need to add one human ingredient, on top of the AI product. They shouldn't use what AI output as the end product to submit, unless it's for revision or just revise grammar, that's okay. But if they did get ideas from AI, they should revise it and change it one more round, iterate one more round before they submit. And yeah, I think that's a quick answer, but I do think if you really dive deep into what those current empirical evidences, how they did the experiment, you might feel more positive, like because there's something we can change, and if we change those things, it's possible that students' metacognition will not diminish anymore. So, but again, we need more and more evidences. Yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that. And also, thank you so much for your time today. And actually, before we wrap up, congratulations again on all of your successes, and you are I'm a professor now at university. And speaking of success, this is a question we ask every guest in the last 9 episodes, and we will keep asking this question: is if you would like to use one word to describe success for yourself, what would that word be?
Well, I have to say, like, the success for me is not to define any success. I don't like to define success, or I don't think I'm successful at all, to be honest. I think I'm just at a very early stage of my career. It's very exciting. I'm very grateful for what I achieved right now. But I think maybe not to define any success is a better, for me, it's a better mindset. But if I did have to say something, I think, or like a North Star for me, right? It's always follow the curiosity and, follow the passion, those are like buzzword and everywhere, but I still want to highlight them, like follow curiosity and follow passion probably is the only success, if I have to say, for me right now. Yeah.
Fair enough, for sure. And I also understand what you mean regarding it's hard to find one definition for that. And you're very modest to say you think you're just at the beginning, but we see that your work is already very impactful. Um, and I would also like to add one thing about what I said before regarding you coming to a question I asked earlier, you coming on to a more higher level to see how everything is happening on the ground. And I think your answer is similar to, I guess, what us at AAL is trying to do. If we're on the ground, we cannot make an impact because we cannot see the full picture. Only when we pull ourselves away are we able to make an impact, when we can analyze and understand. I think for you, it is definitely on the psychology side. For us, on the business endpoint, how this industry on those different levels can be changed, can be transformed, and can be improved across the time. What can help? So thank you so much, Professor T. And I really hope you will visit Hong Kong in near future. and that we'd be able to see you in person.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to that. Actually, there's an opportunity. Yeah. But really thank you for this one, having all these sessions. I think it's very helpful. And all the works you're doing, I think they are very important and look forward to, I will keep me updated and look forward to see more works coming out from you guys. Yeah. Thank you for
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.